Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox engaged in an explosive altercation inside the Spurs locker room during Game 4, according to leaked footage that recently surfaced. Those who witnessed the incident describe it as the kind of event that not only shakes but also splits a team. San Antonio is currently experiencing a complete catastrophe. The city is enraged. The footage that is making the rounds and the words that are coming out of folks who were in that locker room after the final buzzer all indicate that the fan base is just insane. Wemby has finished filling in for his teammate, and the people of San Antonio support him. Because De'Aaron Fox's actions in Game 4 went beyond simple poor play. It wasn't merely a difficult evening. A team with a 29-point advantage ultimately lost the game due to a sequence of mistakes that were so blatantly foolish and fundamentally at odds with all professional basketball principles. And the same question is currently being asked by every Spurs supporter, basketball commentator, and individual who witnessed this catastrophe in real time. How can a player of Fox's quality make those plays in those situations given his years of experience in this league? How does that occur? By the time you finish watching this video, you will know exactly what Fox did, how he ruined what ought to have been one of the greatest victories in the history of this young Spurs team, and why the leaked video of that altercation in the locker room tells you everything you need to know about this team's current situation. This is a deep story, so stay put. Before we go into the carnage, let's clarify something. Context is important in this situation, and it makes what Fox did even more unacceptable than it first appears. This season, De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama were truly thriving together rather than just sharing a roster. When the Spurs first acquired Fox, the combo was performing in ways that even the optimists had not completely anticipated. Imagine the ideal appearance of that combo. As the league's most distinctive offensive and defensive weapon, Wembanyama attracted the attention of every defense, creating possibilities all over the floor. Fox is the ideal pressure release valve because of his exceptional burst and his capacity to enter the paint at will. Because he has been running that action at the top level for years, he has the ability to punish defenses that collapse too hard on Wemby, push the pace and generate mayhem during transitions, and make the appropriate decision to pick and roll. It was a perfect fit on paper, and this season it was a perfect fit for extended periods of time on the real basketball court. They supported one another. There was real chemistry. 20-year-old Wemby, who was still developing into everything his league demands of a franchise player, appeared to genuinely trust Fox as a seasoned presence, someone who had experienced postseason scenarios, understood the importance of big games, and could help carry the load when defenses made Wemby's life challenging. With the kind of space and attention diversion that a player like Wembanyama provides simply by being on the court, Fox was playing some of the finest basketball of his career. What makes Fox's actions in Game 4 so incredibly frustrating is precisely that collaboration, chemistry, mutual respect, and trust. In particular, Wembanyama was betrayed. Wemby performed his duties, going out there and dominating for 3 quarters. He positioned his team for victory. All he wanted from his seasoned veteran backcourt mate was for Fox to shut the door after he handed the Spurs a 29-point lead. All he needed was that. Fox was unable to accomplish it. You can now see precisely how Wemby feels about that failure thanks to the released video from the locker room. In order to fully comprehend the extent of what San Antonio created and then destroyed with their own hands, let's speak about the actual game if you weren't watching it in real time. For the most part of 3 quarters, Madison Square Garden was hushed due to the Spurs' outstanding performance in Game 4. These weren't fluky lucky baskets. This squad performed at an exceptional level, moving the ball purposefully and making shots with the icy assurance that comes from teams that firmly think that the moment is theirs. At one point, they made 14 consecutive three-pointers. 14 straight threes against a defense fit for the playoffs. If you weren't a Knicks fan, it was truly lovely to see the Spurs play basketball in one of the hardest buildings in professional sports, with the crowd noise and the pressure of a playoff series on your mind. Sharp, decisive, selfless, and utterly lethal. The league increased to 29 points. 29. And see, the conversation ends when you lead a playoff game by 29 points. At that point, you are not handling the comeback. A winning lap is being managed by you. In order to give your players some breathing room before the 4th quarter, you are discussing rotations and rests. In the playoffs, a 29-point advantage is more than simply a statistic. It is a psychological statement that informs the other team and their supporters that the game has already been decided and that the only thing left to decide is the final margin. The Spurs had everything they needed to leave Madison Square Garden with a memorable victory. Fox then made the decision to complicate things. There is no polite way to characterize what De'Aaron Fox did in the fourth quarter of this game, so this is where I must be absolutely honest with you. His actions were continuously, endlessly, and strangely stupid. And it was the kind of stupid that you can't attribute to nervousness, bad luck, or the unpredictable nature of basketball. Because it was a consistent, uninterrupted series of poor choices that a 12-year-old who has been watching basketball for 6 months would recognize. Turnovers began to occur. Once more, it makes sense to make one mistake. During a crucial playoff moment. That's basketball. It's human. A team can overcome even 2 turnovers from a player who was otherwise handling the game effectively during the course of a quarter, but Fox was not handling the game well. Instead of controlling the game, Fox was doing the exact opposite. By making a number of choices that lacked any rational basketball rationale, he was deliberately making the game more challenging, complex, and hazardous than it had any right to be. Passes that were in his hands were being fumbled by him. We are not discussing challenging receptions or instances in which the defense executed a remarkable play to remove them. We are discussing regular possessions in which Fox was unable to hold onto the ball, turn the moment into something useful, or perform the fundamental tasks for which a ball handler of his caliber was compensated. In circumstances when they had no right to get live balls, the Knicks were receiving them. Jalen Brunson was there to make them pay each and every time they received one. As the lead decreased, the shot selection became increasingly terrible. Based on all you know about protecting the lead in a playoff game, you would think that a veteran guard would simplify his game, take the easy shots, make the appropriate pass, and not try to do too much as the gap shrinks and the pressure mounts. Fox, however, took the opposite action. His choices were increasingly erratic as the game became more competitive. He was pressuring plays that weren't dead into coverage. He was placing the ball in circumstances where turnovers were not just conceivable but also certain. And the Knicks, who had been dead and buried 29 points earlier, began to think, this is the sequence that will live in infamy for Spurs fans for years. The Knicks had been chipping away at the lead possession by possession, and what had been a comfortable 29-point cushion was not something that required actual attention. After being silent and dejected for the majority of the first 3 quarters, the Madison Square Garden audience was once again on its feet. In those moments, Jalen Brunson was doing what he always does, shooting impossible jumpers, attacking fearlessly, and persuading his team into a game they had no right to be in. Additionally, Fox was there to exacerbate the situation each time New York made a run. The deficit fell by an additional 5 points, the audience grew louder, and San Antonio came under more pressure. If you watched the game, you will recall a possession in which Fox had the ball on the perimeter while the shot clock was running out. Clear space to drive, but instead of attacking the advantage in front of him, he hesitated, dribbled in the traffic, and turned it over in a way that was so needless and avoidable that the Spurs bench was unable to conceal their reaction. Everyone on the sidelines, including the coaches, players, and support staff, had the same expression and body language that said, "We cannot keep surviving this," and they were correct because they did not survive it. With each Fox possession, the Spurs had to climb a steeper. However, nothing prepared anyone for what transpired with 12 seconds remaining in the game because, although the lead had decreased, it was still a lead. The Spurs continued to prevail. Fox had 12 seconds with the basketball. At that point, protecting the ball is the only instruction that matters. Making the Knicks foul you in order to get to the free throw line is the only consequence that counts. This is not a difficult idea. It doesn't take years of study to grasp this sophisticated basketball concept. This is the sport's most basic rule for ending a game. With 12 seconds remaining in the lead to defend, Fox attacked the basket. He missed a layup when he attacked the basket against a defense that was completely locked in, well aware that he was going to attack, and totally determined to stopping him, or at the very least forcing a challenging finish. A layup, not a challenging floater or a contested mid-range pull-up. Throughout his career, Fox has made this shot literally tens of thousands of times. The Knicks had plenty of possession after the ball came off the rim. Assumed control. The New York Knicks had just finished a 29-point comeback after OG and Nudo were tipped in the miss at the buzzer due to De'Aaron Fox's inability to shield the ball for 12 seconds. Give that some thought. 12 seconds. All that prevented the Spurs from winning one of the season's most convincing postseason victories. It only takes 12 seconds to hold the ball, commit a foul, make your free throws, and leave the court with a victory that changes the course of the series. Fox was unable to pull it off, and now that the video of the locker room is going online and Wemby is expressing his true feelings, the entire city of San Antonio is prepared to set it on fire. Fans' reactions to this game have been astounding, and I don't say that lightly. Overreacting is not a characteristic of Spurs supporters. This community watched for years as Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich led one of the most respectable, competent, and consistently outstanding teams in professional sports. This fan base has been patient during the rebuilding years because they believed that the culture created during the dynasty years would ultimately produce something worthwhile to watch again. They also understand basketball and value the proper way to play the game. Everything they have ever associated with Spurs basketball was violated in Game 4. The final 2 minutes disastrous decision-making, the turnover fest, and the failure to hold onto a lead. The supporters aren't keeping quiet about it, and none of it seems like anything that has ever been connected to a San Antonio club. Since the last buzzer, social media has been ablaze. There is a common thread that unites all of the takes, which range from angry to devastated. Fox must be held responsible. There are fans who have been outspoken advocates of the Fox purchase from the beginning, who have supported every difficult period in the past and every fit debate because they sincerely thought he was the ideal addition to help Wembanyama advance. And those supporters are suddenly the most outspoken detractors because when you stand up for a guy and they reward it by blowing a 29-point playoff lead with the most bizarre series of choices you have ever witnessed from a player of his caliber, the rage strikes in a different way. Not only is it disappointing, it's a betrayal. Every Spurs-related post currently has comment sections, and it's clear that people aren't asking for patience. They are not requesting an extension from the organization. They are demanding accountability, screaming for trades, and expressing the kind of unadulterated annoyance that only arises when you witness something truly unacceptable happen to a team you care about. One fan summed it up perfectly when they said that watching Fox in the fourth quarter of Game 4 felt like watching someone actively try to fail. Although that is a strong statement with implications beyond poor basketball, the fact that it struck a chord with thousands of people speaks volumes about the current state of San Antonio. Then there's Wemby. The leaked video from the locker room and what it shows about the current state of these two players' relationship has entirely taken over the discourse, even though the fan emotions and basketball criticism are understandable. Consider this from Wembanyama's point of view. You are 20 years old, and you just finished 3/4 of one of the best games of your young career. You were dominant on both ends, made the proper plays, and performed all the duties expected of a franchise player in a postseason game. With a 29-point lead, your team is on the verge of a historic victory that would send a message about the San Antonio Spurs' identity and future direction to the whole league. All you need is for the guy next to you, the seasoned playoff player, whose entire value proposition to this team is that he has been here before and knows how to close games out, to just perform his duties for an additional 12 seconds. You have to sit in that locker room and think about it when he fails to perform his duties, the game slips away, and the 29-point lead turns into a loss. The video demonstrates that Wemby is not silently processing it. According to reports from those in attendance, there was an intense confrontation, the kind of dialogue that does not occur between teammates who are in a good place, trust each other, and think they are headed in the same direction. It appears that Wemby was straightforward in his communication with Fox, rather than using tactful or diplomatic language. It was furious. Furthermore, it revealed more than just annoyance with a certain game. It represented the particular type of rage that results from believing that you fulfilled your obligation while the person who was meant to fulfill theirs just failed to do so. That's the video that's making the rounds. San Antonio and the basketball community as a whole are totally focused on this topic at that point. Because losing a game that a team should have won is one thing. Teams consistently lose games that they should have won. After one disastrous performance, the franchise's cornerstone, a 20-year-old generational talent who embodies everything this organization is attempting to achieve, openly and explosively broke things off with his veteran colleague. The what-if that now looms over the entire Spurs season is what makes all of this even more frustrating. Because this was not your typical season-ending defeat. This was not a December game that is overlooked the next week and only counts for one in the standings. This was a playoff game that might have given San Antonio tremendous power going into the remainder of the series. A victory in Game 4, particularly one based on such a strong three-quarter effort, would have completely altered the series' psychological trajectory. It would have conveyed the Spurs' potential when they perform at their peak. With a series-defining victory under his belt, Wembanyama would have felt more confident. The Knicks, who had been struggling just to remain in the building, would have been in a difficult position to recover from. Rather, they didn't win because the Knicks were superior. On a night when everything went well for New York, they did not lose because San Antonio ran out of steam, was outcoached, or just lost. They lost because De'Aaron Fox made a number of unacceptable choices that provided a lifeline to a team that had Jalen Brunson on the other end. Fox gave the Knicks that comeback. They didn't deserve it. And that distinction has a significant impact on how you assess what transpired as well as how you consider what should come next. Let's be honest about where this puts the Spurs organization. The team's management must make a decision, and the leaked locker room video has made that decision much more pressing than it was just 48 hours ago. Fox and Wembanyama's relationship is strained. It might be able to be fixed. Resilient individuals or athletes in locker rooms have overcome more difficult situations than this one. However, damaged is damaged, and the way it relates to Fox's performance and the moment that the entire organization has identified as crucial is the kind of damage that doesn't simply go away when two players shake hands during practice and decide to proceed. There is currently a lack of trust. Trust deficits have a tendency to worsen rather than improve if they become noticeable enough to surface in footage that goes viral and receives the kind of media attention this is receiving. The Spurs must honestly determine if Fox's presence on the team is beneficial or detrimental to the most important thing. Wembanyama's growth, this team's current capacity to play at the top level, and an honest evaluation based on the events of Game 4 is more difficult than it was prior to that game. When Fox plays well, he adds significant value. When it's working, the chemistry with Wemby is truly beneficial, but value that vanishes at crucial times or turns into active liability when the stakes are at their highest is a particular kind of issue that businesses need to consider very carefully. The supporters have already arrived. Since the last buzzer, they have been present. Explanations, context, or silver linings are not currently of interest to the San Antonians who have invested in this idea and who have endured years of rebuilding in anticipation of precisely these kinds of playoff moments. Accountability is something that interests them. They want to see the organization react to what transpired with the level of gravity required by the situation. Additionally, the released video of Wemby's response reveals that even the most important person in that building is fully frustrated. The bottom line is as follows. The San Antonio Spurs lost a playoff game that they had won handily because of De'Aaron Fox. He made a number of stupid, unacceptable choices that cost them a 29-point lead, culminating in a missed layup with 12 seconds remaining on the clock that gave New York the ball. He prevented Wembanyama from having a memorable playoff moment that would have shaped the future of this young squad. He cost the Spurs supporters a victory they deserved to celebrate. And now that the league tape of the aftermath has gone viral, the city is, and the connection between the two most significant players on this roster has been publicly shattered in a way that calls for an honest response from all parties. Wembanyama is too gifted, and this team is too well managed for one disastrous fourth-quarter collapse to permanently define the Spurs. However, everyone in San Antonio is sitting with the same question at this precise moment, with the video going viral, the fans going wild, and Wemby's fury clearly visible to everyone in the basketball world. When the next big moment comes, is De'Aaron Fox the proper person to be standing next to their franchise player? Because the answer is no if Game 4 is the answer to that query. And before the next game gives them another opportunity to learn the hard way, the Spurs had best figure that out. How do you feel about all of this? Do you believe Fox can bounce back from this? Or is there too much harm to repair the friendship with Wemby? Is a trade San Antonio's only viable option going forward? And if you're a Spurs supporter witnessing this play out in real time, what must happen in the upcoming game for you to think this squad is still headed in the right direction? This discussion is not going to wind down anytime soon, so leave everything in the comments section right now. Up, 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 up.